Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. The end of the year is very quickly approaching. We literally only have like a month and a half left of 2023, which is absolutely insane. And there's still so many books I want to read. So to kind of like get my thoughts together, I thought it'd be fun to do the end of the year book tag. My subscription feed has been filled with this tag and it just looked like a lot of fun. So question number one is, are there any books you still need to finish by the end of the year? And I kind of have two ways of answering this question. The first way that I was thinking originally was just books that I started throughout the year that I never finished. And I have 3 for the total of the year, and I don't honestly think I'm going to be picking up any of them. And then the second way that I have to answer this question is literally books that I'm in the middle of at the moment, which I do have 2. I've got a fiction and a nonfiction book. The first one is Legends and Lattes. I watched a bunch of cozy fantasy like book recommendation videos, and Legends and Lattes was literally in every single one of those videos. And I am almost finished with this. I literally think I have like 20 pages left. So by the end of today, I most likely will have finished this. And then the other one, the nonfiction, is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this at least one other time. This is basically a memoir in a short story kind of format by the author, who is Caitlin Daughtry, and she is a mortician. And these are essentially short stories about things that she's encountered on the job. I basically just kind of read one short story at a time. I feel like that's a nice, easy, digestible way to read a nonfiction book. Specifically something like this where it's about death and bodies and what goes on at a funeral home and things like that. There's 241 pages in this total, and I'm on page 152, so a little less than 100 pages left. The second question is, what are some autumnal books to transition into the end of the year? That vibe to me is very much like cozy fantasy, dark academia type of things. So on the note of dark academia, I do want to read If We Were Villains. I purchased this at the beginning, I think, of the year, at least the beginning half of the year. And I've basically been saving it for this time of year. So I really, really want to get to this one. And I believe this is basically a murder mystery involving some like Ivy League college students or something like that. And then, like I was saying, my cozy fantasy list are my other kind of like transitional books, and I have read the majority of them already. After I finish Legends and Lattes, I literally only have one other one left, which is Half a Soul. I did recently purchase this on my Kindle, so I'm hoping to read that one soon. As of right now, I don't honestly remember what it's about. I just know, again, it was literally on everyone's like cozy fantasy recommended list, so we have to read it. Question number 3 are, what are some new releases you are still waiting for? And I have 2 specifically that come to mind. The first one is going to be released on November 28th, and that is To Kill a Shadow. And I did actually already pre-order this book because it does have some really pretty purple sprayed edges, and I wanted to make sure that I got them. And again, I can't remember exactly what this one was about, but I do remember the main appeal for me for this one was that the majority of the synopsis on the back of the book was from the perspective of the male character, because this is a fantasy romance. And I feel like typically with fantasy romances, the point of view is from the female character, or even if it's like dual perspective, it's mostly from the female's perspective. And this one is a dual perspective. But again, from like the way that the synopsis is laid out, it looks like it's going to be, crossing my fingers, it's going to be mostly from the male's perspective, which I think will be really fun, kind of like switch up. So excited for that. And then the other one that I'm really excited for, that I've literally been waiting for months for, is going to be released on December 5th, and that is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And I'm thinking maybe that this was originally a self-published book that got picked up by a publisher, because this was released before. I don't know exactly the date, but it was released before. A bunch of people read it, sounded really good, so I went to go purchase it, but it was only available for pre-order for December 5th. I just looked it up on Amazon, and it literally says The Hunger Games meets vampires, which very intrigued by that. Question number 4 is, what are 3 books you want to read by the end of the year? And the very first book that immediately popped in my head was Guild, which is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series. I have had this series, the entire thing, for basically as long as I've had this channel. I think I hauled this in my very first haul, which was in February. And this series has just been like sitting, waiting on my bookshelves. So I absolutely cannot end off this year without at least starting this series, especially because a lot of people seem to like it, and The 5th and final book in this series is going to be released also, I think, in the beginning of December. Foxglove is another one that I really want to finish before the year is over. I read Belladonna a couple of months ago. This is the follow-up to that one. I really liked it, so I'm excited for this book. And then our third book is The Thorns Remain, and literally the only reason I want to finish this or read this kind of during this time of year is because of the cover. This cover just like screams winter and holiday season to me. This takes place in a village in 1919, and it's basically about a group of friends who go into the forest to kind of celebrate everyone, I think, like becoming adults. Like it says that they're going to be all parting ways to kind of like live their lives, I guess. And they come together for like one last celebration, and while they're dancing and having fun, some new people join the group, and it's basically some fae. And we are following one specific person called Moira Jean, and she has to kind of rescue them from the fae. The plot of this actually kind of reminds me of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I read around this time last year, and I really liked it, so I'm excited for this. Next question is there a book you think could shock you and become a favorite of the year? Some of my absolute favorite books this year have been things like Fourth Wing, Serpent and Dove, Kingdom of the Wicked, basically fantasy romances. I think those will forever and always be my favorites. They're just the books that I really just get like sucked into and want to binge and always want more of. So that being said, the only other book that I could think of that I was interested in reading this year that kind of has a similar vibe is called Light Lark. This is the first book in a series. I don't know how many books are going to be in the series as a whole, but currently there are 2 out. So we have Light Lark, and then Nightbane is the second one. It literally just released like a week ago. I don't actually have those books yet, but I did just recently order them, so they should be coming soon. Very excited. And that one again has another kind of like Hunger Games type of trials to the death type of situation. Always my favorite. And then I think the only other thing that I can think of that I was hoping to read this year that I think might be another favorite is Once Upon a Broken Heart, purely for the fact that it's a fantasy romance, but also just a lot of people seem to really love that series, so I don't feel like it's one that I won't like. And then the second to last question is, are there any series you want to finish? And I do actually have a couple. Kind of circling back to our last question, I do have books 2 and 3 from the Serpent and Dove series to finish. This is one of those books that I very randomly, just kind of on a whim, picked up from Barnes & Noble because I needed another book to fulfill the like buy one get one half off deal. And I ended up really liking it, but I decided after I purchased the entire series that I wanted to get it in hardcover. So I have returned the second and third book, and I've ordered all 3 of them in hardcover, and that is coming very soon. So once those come in, I'm gonna basically immediately start this series back up because it was pretty good. And then I also really want to read Crossed by Emily McIntyre. This is the 5th book in the Never After series, which is basically a series of like dark romances kind of inspired by Disney movies, which is such a fun concept. And then the only other book that I'm like really pressed to finish by the end of this year is Throne of the Fallen, which is a spin-off of The Kingdom of the Wicked. I've mentioned Kingdom of the Wicked and this book specifically so many times, I'm honestly surprised I haven't read it yet, but we're definitely going to be getting to it very soon. And then our very last question is, have you started making any reading plans for 2024? And yes, I absolutely have. I feel like if I didn't have this channel, I probably wouldn't, but because I do have this channel and I like to kind of plan out my videos in advance, I've got a good like sprinkling of videos for like the first few months of the year kind of planned out. One of the really big ones that I want to start off the year with is Throne of Glass. I feel like I've teased you guys with me reading this series so many times, and I am so sorry. I really have this idea stuck in my head that I want to do like a full spoiler reading vlog. So basically I need to like pick up the first book and just read the series straight through. And I just don't have enough time for that by the time the year is over. So we're basically going to be kicking off 2024 with Throne of Glass, and I'm very excited. And then a couple of other things that I really want to start are Red Rising, and then also the Chain of Gold series. Oh, and the final book in the Touch of Darkness series is coming out in March, I believe. It was originally supposed to be released this month, but it got pushed back. I absolutely cannot wait. I've talked about the Touch of Darkness series and the Hades like saga spin-off series so many times on this channel, specifically like the first few months of my channel, because that's when I was like reading it. If you're unfamiliar with the Touch of Darkness, that's basically a retelling of Hades and Persephone. And the Touch of Darkness series is in the perspective of Persephone, but then the author Scarlett St. Clair came out with the Hades saga, which is essentially the same exact story, but from Hades' perspective. And basically when that book comes out, I kind of want to do a video where I tandem read the 2 series together, and I'm so freaking excited. But anyway, that is everything that I have for this video. I don't know that this helped me organize my thoughts at all. All this has done is made me realize that I have way more books than I even thought to read by the end of the year, so my hopes are not high for finishing all of them, but we're gonna do our best. Anyway, that's everything that I have to say. I hope you guys have had the most amazing of days, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Bye!